Something huge is brewing for the Toronto Maple Leafs as a brand new report has dropped revealing some huge details surrounding Toronto Maple Leafs and John Tavares' future in Toronto. We're going to break down that report as well as discuss a few updates ahead of tonight's game on the first night of a back-to-back. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, we are proud to announce this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, who are proud supporters of Team Canada. And while they've been supporting our national team defend their home court in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home floor all across the country. And it doesn't matter what city you're in, whether it is Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, it doesn't matter, Halifax, Winnipeg, Mississauga, Edmonton, Victoria, St. John's, from coast to coast, Rentals.ca has a ton of options to find the perfect place and price for you.
Their website is clean and easy to use, and you can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, finding all the options in your area. Find your home court with Rentals.ca.
Check out the link in the pinned comment as well as the description down below. And thank you to Rentals.ca for supporting us, supporting Team Canada, and supporting you guys in finding the best rentals across the country. Thank you again to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this video. Darius, a lot to go over today. There's some interesting things going on surrounding, obviously, the Toronto Maple Leafs on the first night of a back-to-back. Crazy busy month of December. We have some updates ahead of tonight's game as well, but the focus is going to be something big is brewing between the Toronto Maple Leafs and John Tavares. And let's just dive right into it. A lot of reports have come out over the past 24 to 48 hours here. And let's start with CJ. So Chris Johnson says Tavares has little interest in testing the open market next summer. Sides have engaged in a series of discussions during the fall. Tavares camp will push for a Giroux Kopitar $6.5 to $7 million extension. Leafs want closer to 5 to 6. Wouldn't be surprising if there is some deferred money here. So let's break it down. There's also another report and comment from Darren Dreger on the situation. So at this point, there's a lot of different things going in and out here regarding John Tavares. What are your thoughts on this? And you can also mention the an extension discussion. We haven't talked about it on the channel in a video yet, and he is putting up not a career year, but given the expectations, you could go ahead and say a very impressive year.
Yeah, and I mean, given the expectations of how these contracts usually go, I think everyone was expecting John Tavares to start, regressing at this point, and he hasn't done that. And I know it's a contract year, and he's probably playing a little bit for that. We know that players usually have really good years in their contract extension years, and maybe there is something to that. But coming to the season, I think a lot of Leaf fans were thinking, John Tavares is going to resign for $1 or $2 million, and I think that was out of the question at the time anyway. But now he's playing himself into an even larger contract, and I mean, if we're talking $6.57 million, if he's putting up, the points that he's doing this year, and again, he's not going to be signed for that long, or maybe he will be. We don't know exactly what they're thinking. Maybe they do a Chris Tanev type deal where the last half of the contract is on Robida Island or something like that. But you know what? If he's putting up the points that he's doing now, he's playing as responsible as he is defensively right now, and obviously the faceoff thing is one of the best in the league. I think there is a world that you can live with a salary like that. Now, saying that, I think John Tavares is probably going to recognize, the opportunity that he has here to maybe retire a Toronto Maple Leaf. I don't think he doesn't want to test the market. I don't think he wants to play for any other team for the rest of his career. So in knowing that, I think he's going to have to take a bit of a discount, and I don't think the Leafs should budge either. I think they should probably push for something like $5 million, which I think for what he's bringing to the table this year and looking like that he can do still for a couple more years after this year, I think $5 million is perfect for both parties because, again, you're helping the team out. They can use some more salary in other places to better the team. And obviously, you're getting a really good player in John Tavares still. So he can still play second line center as we're seeing this year. We thought that was going to be a problem. Not so much this year. So I think it's very interesting. And I think that he is, hopefully, I would hope that he is going to take some type of discount to stay here because I know he wants to stay here.
Yeah, and the question is, how long can he remain a solid second line center? We didn't think it was going to happen this year. And you mentioned the Chris Tanev thing with Robida Island. I think even if, John Tavares signs, let's say, a 5-year deal at whatever million, I think at the very least he could be a third or even fourth line guy towards the end of his career. Now, whether he'd want to do that is obviously up to him, but I think in his situation, he provides a lot to the team, even the intangibles, similar to what Chris Tanev would do as well. And I'm going to probably pass on the $6.5 to $7 million threshold. I just don't know if the Leafs are going to do that. My guess would be, like you mentioned, 5. I think 5 is a pretty fair number here for John Tavares, maybe 5.5, but you also don't know with players like this when their regression will come. And John Tavares is a very good player, has been for years, and he's putting up a career year, kind of like Mitch Marner is as well this season in a contract year for him. So as you start to look at 6.57, it gets a little bit harder to justify, at least for me, especially given his age. That's obviously the biggest thing for this here. And we also had Darren Dreger come out and speak out on it. So the bottom line is going to be, what's a fair number? What's a fair AAV? I don't think it can be 5 million. I think it has to be below that. And if you're Tavares, you're looking at it and thinking, well, I just put up big numbers and I feel really good. I think I got at least 2 more years of that in me. Then it becomes more of a negotiation, of creativity. And there's no doubt that the Leafs are going to keep him. I think they'll ultimately keep him. But Darren Dreger's saying here, Darius, less than 5 million. And maybe if it's a 2 or 3 year deal, I'd go ahead and push up to 5, maybe 6 if it's 2 or 3 years. If we're talking about 6 years, you're gonna have to lower that AAV, at least for me, maybe even 4. And I'm not even sure I'm comfortable giving him $4 million over 6 years or something like that, given his age. But I'm obviously a bit less optimistic about his kind of trajectory here. I think this is a great season. I think it will continue to be a great season. I'm not entirely sold on him being able to do this for the next handful of seasons.
Well, we've seen the Leafs so far this season, and other teams already start using it, deferred money. So I think that can come into play, as well as a contract like Chris Tanev, like I brought up, something where it's like $4 million over the course of 6 years, and he's not going to finish the contract or something. But he's putting up really good numbers right now. Like, he's still very effective. I think he can still do this for another 2 years. Like, we think of him as old in terms of hockey terms, right? But he's still putting up really, really good numbers this year. So I don't know if he's going to stop anytime soon. We keep having the question marks, following him the last couple of years, and he keeps answering, except for last year. Last year, maybe a little bit of a down year for him, but this year it looks like he's going to be at least a point a game player. So he's playing really, really well. And a lot of people tend to forget, because he does make $11 million still. He took a pay cut to come to Toronto the first time. He was offered $13 million in other markets. So he did take a pay cut the first time. I feel like he wants to play here. He wants to stay here. He still wants to get compensated, right? Because of course he is a great player still, but I think that he is going to take a bit of a pay cut. But to say less than 5 million, I don't know if he's going to want to do that. And again, the integrity and his legacy that he leaves behind, I don't know if he wants to end being a Maple Leaf on Robidas Island, right? So there is that to consider as well. So we'll see what happens. I don't think that they're going to sign any contracts until the offseason. I think at this point, I think they really want to see how the playoffs go. Maybe Matthew Nyes. I think you know exactly what you have in that player. But in terms of during the season, I think that John Tavares and Mitch Marner are going to wait till the offseason, where they have a better idea of where they want to take the team based on, how they perform in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you see some interesting stats here, obviously comparing Tavares and Matt Sundin. It kind of just puts into perspective how good John Tavares has been throughout his tenure in the NHL and with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And speaking about this, he did get snubbed from Team Canada. We covered it in the stream, and I think briefly in a video the other day. Correct me if I'm wrong, but again, disappointed. Expresses hope he'll be able to fight in the mix for Team Canada again down the road. You can make the argument he should have made it this year. Obviously, I'm not going to act like it's an easy decision for the people who are picking. I think you can, every single year, obviously this is, with the Four Nations Cup or anytime there's a selection of any sort, whether it's the All-Star break or something like this, there's always going to be someone who's snubbed, especially with how good the NHL kind of talent is here. And obviously this season he's off to a crazy start, 11 goals, 11 assists, the same amount of goals as assists this year. And he's on track for over 30 goals. And it's really impressive, 34 years old. But again, if you're signing a guy at 34 years old to a lengthy contract, even though, and to the caliber and the pedigree that John Tavares has, it's going to be always a little bit scary, at least for me, no matter how well he has been playing. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on this specific instance, because I know, Darius, you're more on the side of lock him up. I definitely want him to retire Leaf. I want to lock him up, but there's some concerns for me when you're starting to get in the $6.5 to $7 million. I don't even think they should touch that no matter the term if it's at $6.5 million. But that being said, let us know down below what your thoughts are on that. Let's get into some of the updates for tonight's game. Stolarz is going to be the projected starter tonight against the Capitals, so we're going to see Joseph Woll play in tomorrow night's game. Again, first night of a back-to-back tonight. And Domi, Pacioretty, and McCabe are all taking part. And let's have a look at the lines for tonight's game. You have Nyes, Matthews, Marner, Holmberg, Tavares, Nylander, Robertson, Minton, Lorentz, Grabenkin, spelled another different way. That's like a running joke here on the channel. Connor Dewar, and Ryan Reeves. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, McCabe and Marshall Rafai are out. Hakanpää still on the IR. And, of course, you have Domi and Pacioretty nearing a return. But, again, for Pacioretty, has to wait a little bit longer because he was put on the LTIR retroactive. So, what are your thoughts on these lines? A lot of the same. That being said, I'm excited for the game. And Philip Myers goes back into the lineup tonight alongside Morgan Rielly.
Yeah, at times Philip Myers, I should say, has looked a step behind, but I think he's getting more comfortable every game he plays. So he's going to play again with Morgan Rielly. I don't think they've looked bad together. The Leafs keep winning, so that's a good thing. McCabe held out again. Again, the Leafs are winning. They don't really need him right now. Get him back to 100%. I'm sure we're probably going to see him tomorrow against Pittsburgh, or obviously, early next week. It doesn't seem like it's something that's going to bother him long term or anything like that. The other interesting thing that I noticed this morning is Matthews and Marner are together. They're going to start the game, together. So I think that was interesting. I was saying on our live stream after the last game that, maybe it was just something they did in the third period to get the team going, but maybe it's something they're going to stick with again because they were rocking this before, obviously, the injury. So pretty interesting. Stolars and Wall are going to alternate throughout the month, and it looks like a couple of guys are returning from injury. So everything's slowly coming together for the Leafs, and I wonder how much longer we see a guy like Fraser Mitten still with the team, because I do think he's playing really well. So I'm excited to see what he does tonight. And Gurbankin, no matter how you spell it, I'm interested.
To this tweet,
Gurbankin, I guess at this point, or Gurbankin during the summer. There's so many spellings, but Gurbankin too. I'm interested to see if he sticks with the team when everyone comes back, or what happens with that, because they're going to have a cap crunch. So it's going to be interesting, and should be another good game tonight.
Starting to take shape a little bit now. Lorentz on the third line. I am going to note I hate having Matthews and Marner's back together personally, but we'll see how it actually goes. I think things were rolling. They've literally been winning almost every game they're playing, so changing that makes no sense to me. That being said, we'll see what happens tonight, and of course we'll have a post-game stream showcase or highlighting what hopefully is a big win for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that'll wrap it up. Thank you again to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this one. Check them out in the pinned comment and the description, and we'll see you guys later tonight for the stream.